The stars were silent, but silence in the galaxy was never safe. Every species knew that. Every council, every emperor, every admiral, they had all heard the same whisper in the dark void. Never wake the humans. No one alive remembered. Who first spoke those words? Some said it was the ancient archivists, the oldest race in the stars. Others believed it came from ruins found on shattered worlds. But the warning was always the same, carved into stone, recorded in data, written in 100 alien tongues: never wake the humans. And yet, warnings only made some races curious. The Valari, proud and reckless, ruled half of the outer rim. Their war fleets were vast, their soldiers fearless, their arrogance endless. To them, the old warning was nothing more than superstition old. Lies told by cowards afraid of ghosts. Admiral Kethis, commander of the Valari conquest fleet, laughed when his scouts brought him the message. They had found a dead world on the edge of the galaxy, frozen earth. Buried beneath its ice were vaults, sealed with strange metal that no weapon could cut. Humans, the scout whispered, fear in his eyes. Admiral Kethis only smiled. Then, let us see if the ghosts bleed. The fleet landed. Beneath mountains of ice and stone, the Valari broke open the first vault. The doors screamed like dying metal as they cracked apart. What lay inside was not treasure nor weapons, but silence. Rows of black chambers. Each chamber held a coffin. And in each coffin figures, tall, pale, still, humans. The Valari had expected shriveled corpses. Instead, they found perfect preservation. The humans looked as if they were only sleeping, waiting for a signal, waiting for someone to wake them. Kethis did not believe in curses. He ordered his scientists to open one. The chamber hissed. Frozen air poured out. The figure inside stirred. Ever so slightly, its chest rose. Its eyes flickered. The scientist stumbled back. "Admiral, this is dangerous." Kethis only laughed. "Danger is for the weak. This is power. Imagine what secrets they hold. Imagine what weapons they built before their fall. We'll take it all." Human's eyes opened. Blue, cold, endless. The soldier closest to the coffin dropped his weapon, trembling. For a moment, the human only stared, silent and still. Then its lips parted and a single word escaped, rough and ancient. "Why?" The Valari drew back, their confidence breaking. But Admiral Kethis forced himself forward. "You are relics," he said. "You belong to us now." The human did not move. Its gaze wandered across the alien faces as if judging them, as if weighing something older and darker than the stars themselves. Then it smiled. Not a warm smile, not a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile a predator gave when the cage door opened. The vault shook. Lights flickered. The other coffins stirred, one by one. Across the chamber, pale hands pressed against glass. Ice cracked. Metal groaned. The Valari panicked. Weapons flared. Alarms screamed. But it was too late. The humans were waking. No one knew how long they had slept. Thousands of years? Maybe longer? Entire empires had risen and fallen in the time they lay dreaming. And now, because of Valari pride, they were awake again. The first human stepped from its coffin, unarmed, but its presence alone bent the room to silence. Even the alarm seemed to grow weaker in its shadow. Its voice was calm, but each word carried like thunder. "You should have listened." Admiral Kethis tried to shout an order, but his throat closed. Fear the kind he had never known locked his words. He realized in that moment that the old warning had not been a lie. It had been mercy, mercy they had thrown away. Outside the vault, the Valari fleet waited. But already across the dead planet, other vaults were stirring, coffins opening, eyes awakening. The silence of Earth was broken, and the universe would never be the same again. The air inside the ancient vault turned heavy, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The humans stepped out of their coffins one by one. Their movements were slow, but not we-controlled, precise. Like predators testing the ground before the hunt, the Valari soldiers raised their rifles, their claws shaking against the triggers. But every instinct inside them screamed the same truth: shooting will not matter. Admiral Kethis forced his voice out, sharp and loud. Fire. Bolts of energy lit the chamber. Explosions cracked against the human's skin. Smoke filled the air. The floor shook when the smoke cleared. The humans still stood, not a burn, not a scratch. Their eyes glowed faintly now, as if remembering something ancient. One of them raised his hand, almost lazily, and every weapon in the room twisted apart like soft clay. Rifles bent. Armor crumbled. The soldiers screamed as metal turned against them, crushing their claws, cutting their flesh. The humans did not move fast. They did not need to. Their presence alone broke the Valari. Kethis tried to retreat, stumbling back toward the blast doors. But the first human, the one with the cold blue eyes, turned his gaze on him. Kethis froze where he stood. His body refused to obey. His heart raced, but his legs stayed locked. Like chains held him down. The human walked closer, silent, his shadow stretching long over the alien admiral. "You opened the door," the human said. His voice was not loud, but it echoed inside. Every skull crawling into their thoughts. "Now you will carry the message." The admiral's breath shook. "What message?" The human leaned close. His smile returned. "Tell them we are awake," Kethis screamed. The chamber shook again. Coffins across the planet burst open. In the ice fields above, the ground cracked as more vaults released their guardians. Across the horizon, blue eyes opened beneath the snow. The silence of centuries was gone. Above the planet, the Valari fleet saw the ground glowing with light. Strange signals pulsed into space frequencies older than their own language. Ships scrambled to decode them, but the codes were unbroken. Unreadable, then one by one their engines died. The massive warships, once proud, drifted powerless in orbit. Pilots shouted in confusion. Generals slammed controls. But nothing worked. Their ships had been claimed by a signal none of them understood. And then, voices filled the coms. Not Valari voices, not machine voices. Human voices. Calm, cold. Everywhere you were warned. The fleet broke into chaos. Some tried to flee, activating jump drives, but the drives shattered, tearing themselves apart. Others tried to launch escape pods, but the pods would not open. The humans had locked everything. On the planet below, the first human raised his head to the stars, as if listening to a distant memory. "Too soon," he murmured. The galaxy was not ready. Behind him, the other humans gathered. They were different men and women, soldiers and scientists, each bearing strange marks on their skin, each carrying a weight of history the aliens could not imagine. They spoke in quiet tones, their language sharp and strong. The Valari did not understand the words, but they understood the tone. Judgment. Admiral Kethis was dragged outside by invisible force. His soldiers followed, bound by fear more than power. He looked at the dead world around him: ice plains, frozen oceans, broken ruins of cities long buried. "This is not your world anymore," he said, his voice trembling. "It is ours." The human turned his gaze on him. "No, it was never yours, and now it is ours again." In that moment, Kethis realized the greatest mistake of his kind. They had not awakened a forgotten species. They had unchained something greater, something the galaxy had buried for a reason. The humans were not simply survivors. They were executioners. The Admiral closed his eyes, and for the first time in his long, victorious career, he wished for death. Above them, the stars shifted. The ancient human signal was no longer calling only to Earth. It was spreading, racing across the galaxy. A message older than any empire, reaching into every corner of space. We are awake. Every species would hear it. Every empire would feel the chill in their bones. The warning was no longer a whisper. It was a promise. And the galaxy would soon learn why the universe had told them, again and again, never wake the humans. Across the galaxy, the signal spread. It traveled faster than light, ignoring every barrier, touching every world, every fleet, every council chamber. The same words echoed in thousands of alien minds. We are awake. The first to feel it were the Renari, a race of scholars who lived among the stars of the inner spiral. They prided themselves on knowledge, on history, on truth, and they remembered. When the signal reached them, the high scholar dropped his staff. His voice shook as he whispered to the assembly, "The stories were real." The others in the chamber froze. One asked, "What stories?" The high scholar looked up, his face pale. The humans' whispers filled the hall. Some laughed nervously, thinking it was only myth. But the older ones knew. They had read the forbidden scrolls, the hidden archives carved into dead moons. They knew the humans were not a story. They were a shadow, and that shadow was moving again. Far from the scholars in the Hrax dominion, the warlords gathered. They were a brutal race, armored beasts who lived for conquest. Their fleets stretched across 5 sectors, their armies endless. When the signal reached them, the supreme warlord slammed his claws against the war table. "Humans, ancient prey, they rise again, then we will crush them, as we crushed others." His generals did not answer. Fear crawled through even their hard hearts. They had seen the ruins too. Worlds burned to ash, not by war, not by time, but by something far greater, and in every ruin, the same mark had been found. A handprint carved into stone. A human hand. Meanwhile, in the core of the galaxy, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Races from 100 systems filled the chamber. Traders, warriors, scientists, kings. All spoke at once, shouting, arguing, panicking. The council speaker, a tall being of light, tried to calm them. "We must stay united. Do not know if the signal is truly human." But an elder from the insectoid. Krathy slammed her claws against the floor. "Fool, who else could it be? No other race bends technology like that. No other race makes ships die with a whisper." They are awake. The chamber fell into silence. Finally, one of the younger species, proud and blind to fear, asked, "What are they? Why does the universe warn us of them?" The elder turned, her eyes dark. "They are the end of empires, the destroyers of tyrants, the fire that does not die. Once, long ago, the galaxy united not to fight them, but to bury them. We did not kill the humans. We only locked them away." The young one scoffed. "Then let us lock them again." The elder shook her head slowly. "No lock can hold them twice." Back on Earth, the humans walked across the frozen plains. The Valerie fleet, once so mighty, now drifted powerless above the skies. Admiral Kethis stood among his broken soldiers, forced to watch as the humans raised their hands to the heavens. With every movement, the ice cracked, revealing more of their hidden world. Towers of black stone rose from beneath the snow. Machines unlike anything the Valari had ever seen crawled out of the ground, alive with strange energy. The humans were not just waking themselves. They were waking their world. One of the Valari, scientists still alive, whispered in horror, "This planet. It was never dead. It was sleeping." The humans moved with purpose, as if they remembered every task, every duty, every war. Some began to repair the black towers. Others sent streams of light into the sky, signals, messages, orders. Admiral Kethis finally broke his silence. "What do you want?" he shouted. "What are you planning?" The first human, the one with the cold eyes, turned to him. His answer was simple. "We are calling the rest." Kethis felt his chest tighten. The rest. The human smiled faintly. "Did you think Earth was the only place we slept?" The Admiral's legs gave way. The soldiers gasped in terror. If Earth had been only one prison, then how many more? Vaults were hidden across the galaxy? How many more humans were waiting to wake? The answer came quickly. From distant stars, other signals began to rise. From broken moons, from black holes, from forgotten planets, responses echoed back. "We hear you. We are rising. We are awake." The galaxy shuddered, and in that moment, every race understood the truth. The Valerie had not simply unleashed a single world. They had awakened a storm of humans. Panic spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Signals of the awakened humans reached every throne, every council, every warlord's ear. Fear turned quickly into rage, and rage into desperate action. The first to act were the Hrax Dominion. Their warlord was proud, too proud to believe in fear. "If the humans rise, then we will crush them before they spread," he declared. "Let our fleets burn their frozen world and bury their name once more." Within days, 1,000 warships gathered on the edge of Earth's system. Their cannons were large enough to crack moons, their soldiers countless. From orbit, their fleet looked like a storm of fire waiting to fall. On Earth below, the Valerie prisoners saw the lights of invasion fill the sky. Admiral Kethis felt a strange flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, another empire would succeed where his had failed. Maybe the humans would finally be destroyed, but the humans only watched. The blue-eyed leader stood on a black tower of stone that now pulsed with light. Around him, hundreds of awakened humans waited in silence. Their faces were calm. Their hands rested at their sides. They did not raise weapons. They did not prepare defenses. Instead, they simply looked to the sky. The Hrax fleet moved into formation. Their warlord roared into the coms, his voice echoing across the system. "Humans, you're nothing but a memory. Today, we erase you again. Today we prove the galaxy belongs to the Dominion." His ships fired. Thousands of beams of fire cut across space, raining down toward the frozen planet. Explosions lit the atmosphere like falling suns. The ground shook, mountains cracked, oceans boiled under the heat. The Valerie prisoners cowered. Even Admiral Kethis shielded his eyes. Surely nothing could survive such destruction. When the smoke cleared, the humans were still standing. Not one of them had moved. Not one tower had fallen. The fire had bent away from them at the last moment, curving like rivers around stone. The Hrax weapons had struck, but none had touched. Silence fell over the battlefield. Then, slowly the humans raised their hands. The sky rippled like water. The Hrax fleet, once proud, once endless, began to die, not with fire, not with explosions. One by one, their warships went dark. Engines silenced. Weapons melted. Hulls cracked as if crushed by invisible hands. From the ground, the aliens watched in horror as 1,000 ships became nothing but drifting husks. Soldiers screamed over open coms, begging for help, but their cries ended in static. In less than an hour, the mighty fleet of the Hrax Dominion was gone. The humans did not cheer. They did not speak. They only lowered their hands again, calm as stone. Admiral Kethis trembled. He realized something terrifying. The humans had not fought back. With effort, they had not even tried. They had simply woken up, and even that was enough to erase an empire's pride. Far away, news of the slaughter reached the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some shouted to flee, to hide, to surrender. Others demanded war, claiming numbers could crush even ancient ghosts. But one elder stood, her voice shaking. "Fools, do you not understand? The Hrax sent 1,000 ships, and none returned. The humans did not even leave their planet. Do you think your fleets will fare better?" Silence followed her words. The truth was too heavy to deny, but fear breeds foolishness. Fear breeds war. Soon, another empire rose to challenge the humans. Then another. Fleets burned fuel, armies gathered, alliances formed, across the galaxy, power that once fought. Each other now united with one desperate purpose, to stop the humans before they fully woke. Back on Earth, humans continued their work. More towers rose from the ice, more machines came alive. The sky above shimmered with strange light, as if the planet itself was becoming a weapon. One Valerie scientist whispered, "They are not preparing for defense. They are preparing for travel." Admiral Kethis felt cold crawl through his chest. If the humans left their world, if they carried their storm into the stars, no empire would survive, and he finally understood the old warning. The universe had not told them never. Wake the humans, because humans were fragile. It was because, once awakened, humans would not stop. The frozen world no longer looked dead, where there had once been only ice and silence. Now towers of black stone reached for the sky. Lights pulsed across the surface like veins of fire. Machines older than any empire woke from their slumber. Humming with power, the humans were ready to move. For weeks, alien fleets had circled the system. They feared to approach after the fall of the Hrax Armada, but they dared not retreat either. To leave meant giving the humans freedom. To stay meant waiting for death. Admiral Kethis, still alive only because the humans allowed it, stood on the icy plains with his broken soldiers. His once proud fleet now drifted in orbit like useless bones. He had seen the humans bend fire, break armies, silence weapons, with only a thought. But now he felt something worse. They were preparing to leave Earth. The blue-eyed leader climbed the highest tower. He raised his hand, and the sky itself opened. A tear of light split the darkness above the planet. Stars twisted, space bent. It was not a gate, not a drive, not any technology the aliens knew. It was older, simpler, stronger. The Velari scientists whispered in terror. They are calling their roads. One by one, the humans walked into the light. They carried no weapons, no armor. Their very presence was enough. Each step they took echoed through the galaxy. The roads of light swallowed them, carrying them to distant stars. Admiral Kethis shouted in desperation. "Where are you going?" The leader turned his head slightly, his eyes colder than the void. "Home," and then he vanished into the light. Moments later, across the galaxy, reports flooded in. On forgotten moons, on shattered colonies, on dark stations abandoned for centuries, the humans were arriving. They stepped out of the light and found their hidden vaults. They woke their brothers and sisters who still slept. It was not just Earth. Humans had been buried everywhere, entire. Worlds shook as thousands more of them rose. Old machines powered on. Ancient signals spread. The quiet whispers of fear that had haunted the galaxy for centuries became screams. The council called another meeting. Leaders shouted at one another, voices sharp with panic. "We must unite." One cried, "Send everything. All fleets. Burn them before they grow stronger." But another voice rose above the noise. An old, cracked voice of a Krathi elder. "You cannot burn what is already fire." Her words silenced the chamber. Every race knew she spoke truth. Numbers meant nothing. Weapons meant nothing. The Hrax had learned it first. Others would learn it next. Still, pride is a poison that drowns reason. And pride ruled the young empires. 3 coalitions formed, combining fleets of different races. Their plan was simple: strike at the newly awakened human vaults across the galaxy before the humans could unite. Strike fast, strike everywhere. Admiral Kethis heard the news from his prison camp on Earth. He laughed bitterly. "Fools, they do not understand. Humans do not build armies. They do not build fleets. They build storms." Above him, the road of light still burned, carrying more humans to the stars. And then the first battle came. The coalition launched an assault on the black moon of Relker, where a small group of humans had just awakened. 100 ships surrounded the moon, their firepower enough to shatter planets. The humans on the moon numbered less than 20. The coalition fired without hesitation. The surface of the moon cracked. Towers fell. Flames swallowed the horizon. For a moment, it looked as if victory was theirs. Then, silence. Out of the smoke, the humans walked. Out. Their bodies glowed faintly, their steps steady, their eyes bright. They raised their hands, and the 100 ships above simply stopped. Engines froze. Weapons melted. One by one, the ships crumbled into dust, as if centuries passed in seconds. The battle was over before it began, and worse. The humans did not just destroy, they learned. The next day, strange ships appeared in the skies of Relker, black and sharp, built from the ruins of the fallen fleet, alive with human design. They had no crew, yet they moved like predators. The humans were not just awakening, they were evolving. The galaxy watched in horror as, piece by piece, The humans began to rebuild what they once were. And with every step, the ancient warning grew louder in every heart. Never wake the humans. But it was already too late. The galaxy had no choice. Every empire, every kingdom, every warlord saw the truth. Alone they would fall. Together, they might stand a chance. The council called it the Last Alliance. Never before had so many races gathered under one banner. Enemies who had fought for centuries now stood side by side. Traitors, raiders, conquerors, and kings all brought their fleets. It was said the stars themselves went dark as millions of ships filled the void. No single enemy had ever united the galaxy like this. Only the humans could. In the council chamber, the Speaker of Light addressed the leaders. If we fail now, our children will never see another sunrise. The humans will consume everything. We must strike with all we have, many agreed.
How many?
Shouted for war. But not all. The Crathy elder, her shell cracked with age, spoke softly. You still do not understand. The humans are not conquerors. They are not tyrants. They are something else. Something older. If you fight them, you feed the fire. But no one listened. Fear had smothered reason. The fleets moved. Their target was Earth itself. The plan was simple. Overwhelm the humans before their numbers grew. Too large. A storm of metal and fire gathered at the edge of the system, countless ships ready to descend. From the icy surface below, Admiral Kethis watched the skies burn with lights of invasion. His heart was torn. Once, he would have welcomed the fall of Earth, but now, he had seen too much. He knew what was coming. They don't understand, he whispered. They are walking into the jaws of a beast. On the black towers, the humans gathered. Their blue-eyed leader looked to the heavens, calm as always. Around him, thousands of awakened humans stood in silence, like statues carved from ice and fire. When the first fleet entered orbit, the sky turned into war. Millions of weapons fired. Beams of light cut across the planet.
Ow!
Missiles screamed down, like falling stars. For a moment, the world looked as if it would break apart under the assault. The humans did not move, and then the planet answered. The black towers lit with a blinding glow. The ground shook, the ice split. From beneath the crust, massive structures rose into the sky. They were not ships, they were not machines. They were something older, something alive. The Valerie scientist fell to his knees. By the void. The planet itself is their weapon. The towers released a pulse. A wave of silent power swept across the system. The Alliance fleet, millions of ships. The pride of the galaxy froze in place. Engines died. Weapons shattered. Even shields collapsed like glass. For a breathless moment, the greatest armada in history drifted helplessly in the dark. Then the humans raised their hands, one by one. The ships began to break apart. Some crumbled into dust, centuries of decay, crushing them in seconds. Others twisted and folded, crushed into nothing. Entire fleets vanished in silence, their death quicker than a scream. The galaxy's might, gone in minutes. Admiral Kethis stared in disbelief. He had seen armies fall, he had seen planets burn, but he had never seen a war end before it even began. The humans did not chase survivors. They did not hunt. Simply lowered their hands and returned to their work, as if swatting aside an insect was not worth thought. On the council worlds, chaos reigned. Millions had died. Entire empires were broken in a single battle. The leaders argued, some demanding surrender, others calling for retreat to the farthest corners of space, but none could hide from the truth. The humans had shown restraint. If they had wished, they could have erased every world in the Alliance. Yet they had not. And that was the most terrifying part. For if this was not war, then what was it? Admiral Kethis thought he knew the answer. He looked at the glowing towers, at the humans who worked silently, at the roads of light stretching into the stars. They are not fighting us, he whispered. They are preparing for something else. Deep inside, he realized the most chilling truth of all. The galaxy had never been the humans' enemy. The galaxy was only the beginning. The galaxy lay in ruins of fear. The greatest fleet ever assembled had been erased in moments. Empires that once ruled stars now whispered in shadows, terrified to speak too loudly, afraid the humans might hear. But the humans did not hunt, they did not conquer. They did not raise banners over broken worlds. Instead, they built. On Earth, towers of black stone grew taller, brighter, alive with strange energy. On Relkor's shattered moon, humans awakened their machines. Across forgotten worlds, more vaults opened, and more of their kind returned. Everywhere they worked with quiet purpose. It was not war, it was preparation. Admiral Kethis, forced to watch from his prison camp, felt the weight of a truth no one wanted to see. "No, they could have ended us all," he muttered. "Didn't? That means their eyes are fixed elsewhere." One of his soldiers asked, "Elsewhere?"
Where?
Kethis did not answer. He was afraid of the thought forming in his mind. Far across the galaxy, the Council searched for answers. They dug into old archives, into ruins long buried, into records that had been hidden even from their own people. What they found chilled them. The warnings were older than their empires, older than their stars. The first races to rise in the galaxy had not feared humans because they were conquerors. They had feared humans because of what humans fought. In broken archives, the Council discovered fragments they stood when none else would. They are the fire against the dark. We did not bury them to protect ourselves from them. We buried them to delay what follows them. The Council speaker's voice shook as he read the last line. If they wake, then so will it. Confusion filled the chamber. "What is it?" the younger races demanded. But no one could answer. The records ended in silence, as if the ancients had been too afraid to write the name. Meanwhile, the humans continued their work. Admiral Kethis saw their leader, often the one with the cold blue eyes. He was different from the others, older, stronger. When he walked among the towers, even the machines seemed to bow. One night, storms of light danced above the black spires. Kethis gathered the courage to speak. "Why?" he shouted at the human. "Why do you spare us? Why build instead of burn? What are you waiting for?" For the first time, the leader stopped. His gaze fell on the admiral, piercing through flesh and bone. "You are not our war," the human said softly. Kethis trembled. "Then what is?" The human looked to the stars. His eyes glowed faintly, reflecting a horizon only he could see. "It is coming." Those words spread like poison through Kethis's heart. He did not know what it was, but he understood one thing. The humans had not been awakened too early. They had been awakened too late. Across the galaxy, strange signs appeared. Stars flickered out without reason. Worlds went dark, their populations vanishing overnight. Ships sent to investigate returned empty or did not return at all. And in the void between galaxies, shadows moved, shapes vast and endless, older than suns, stirring in the deep. The humans saw them first. They always had. It was their purpose. The blue-eyed leader gathered his people across the roads of light. His voice carried into the hearts of all humans who had awakened. "The veil is thin. The dark stirs again. We are the fire. We are the wall. And we will not break."
It.
The Valerie. Prisoners listening from afar did not understand. But they felt that the humans were not boasting, not raging. They were promising. A promise not to conquer the galaxy. A promise to defend it. But at a cost no other race could bear. And so, the galaxy finally understood the ancient warning. Never wake the humans. Not because they would destroy, but because when they rose, it meant something far worse was already coming. The galaxy waited in silence. Every empire, every world, every soldier knew the truth now. The humans had not risen for conquest. They had risen because something else was coming. Something older, something worse. And then it arrived. At the edge of the galaxy, the stars went dark. Not one star, not 10. Hundreds. A shadow spread across the void, swallowing suns, devouring light itself. Fleets sent to investigate vanished. Their last transmissions filled with screams and static. The Council called it the Devourer. But the humans had another name. The Endless Dark. The blue-eyed leader whispered, standing atop Earth's highest tower. His voice carried across every awakened human. It returns. The devourer moved like a storm, not ships, not armies, but living shadows, vast enough to crush planets in their coils. Worlds fell silent as they were consumed, their life stripped away in moments. Even the greatest alien weapons could do nothing. The galaxy cried for help, and the humans answered. Roads of light opened everywhere. From Earth, from Relcor's moon, from every awakened vault, the humans stepped through. They did not march as armies, they did not sail as fleets. They moved as a storm of their own, fire against shadow. On the first battlefield, over the burning world of Kevrin, the Devourer's swarm descended. Entire cities were swallowed in darkness. Alien soldiers screamed, their weapons useless. And then the humans arrived. They fell from the sky like meteors, their eyes burning, their hands alive with power. With a single motion, they pushed the shadow back. With another, they lit the skies. With fire brighter than suns, the aliens watched in disbelief. Where their fleets had failed, where their armies had died. The humans fought as if born for this, because they were. Long ago, before any living empire, the humans had taken the burden. They had stood against the endless dark when no other race. Could they had fought and bled and won barely? To save the galaxy, they had buried themselves in slumber, leaving only a warning behind. Never wake us, unless it comes again. Now it had. Admiral Kethis, still a prisoner, but allowed to live, was forced to watch as history unfolded. From the safety of orbit, he saw humans burn entire swarms of shadow to ash. He saw their machines rise from the ice, ships black and sharp, moving like living creatures. They are not soldiers, he whispered. They are executioners. The Devourer was vast, endless, uncountable. But for every shadow that rose, a human stood to meet it. Their power tore holes in the dark. Their fire lit the night. The galaxy's fleets, broken and afraid, began to return not to fight alone, but to fight beside them. For the first time, the aliens understood. The humans were not their curse. They were their shield. On the battlefield of Kevrin, a Krathi commander looked upon a human warrior who had just saved her city. She whispered, trembling, "You are monsters." The human turned, his blue eyes cold. "No, we are what monsters fear." The war raged across the stars. Shadows swallowed worlds. Humans burned them free. Again and again, the endless dark struck, and again, the humans stood. But the cost was heavy. Each battle consumed more of their strength. Each fight left scars on their world and their kind. They were fire, but fire always burned itself as it burned others. Still, they did not falter. At the final battle, the rim of the galaxy where light itself ended, the humans gathered for one last stand. Their leader raised his hand to the sky, his voice echoing across the galaxy. "We are the wall, we are the flame, and we will not fall." With a roar of light, they unleashed everything. Towers shattered, roads of fire cracked, their very souls burned into the dark. The endless dark screamed and broke, its shadows ripped apart, its hunger silenced. When the light faded, the humans were gone. The galaxy stood silent. The stars shone again. The shadow was no more. Admiral Kethis bowed his head, tears burning. His eyes, they saved us. They always were saving us. And we feared them. The council spread the truth across every world. The warning was remembered once more, but its meaning had changed forever. Never wake the humans. It's not because they are danger, but because if they rise, it means the end has come. And when it did, they stood. They burned. And they saved the galaxy once more.